Hello, Violet here, second generation homeschooling mom of 3. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an infant. Today I wanted to share with you what we use for spelling, so let's get into it. So we use All About Spelling, and so far we've done level 1, level 2, level 3, and then my daughter is part of the way through level 4, and then my son, who is 5, has done most of level 1 as well because he wanted to start spelling. So I'll show you this, and I'll show you just a quick flip through of some of the other books. So every book starts with the table of contents, an overview, and then materials you need to gather, and then it talks about multisensory learning, phonograms, how to set up your review box, which I'll show you in just a minute, the basic phonograms, how to organize the letter tiles, which I will also show you in just a minute, how to teach all about spelling, and then some encouragement you can use for your kids, and then to get started with the lesson. So this, because it's level 1, starts out very, very simple, and then it builds up. So these first few lessons are just getting to know the phonograms, segmenting words, which they give you little, I have all of our letter tiles in this box. They give you little tokens to have your child segment the words. You would read the word and they would pull down one of these for each sound as they say the sound in the word. My kids flew through that portion. They actually, this first book in general, they do really, really fast. So these letter tiles, they recommend you do on a whiteboard. We have a whiteboard, but it's not magnetic. So I decided instead to buy this case. I think I got it at Michael's or something, but it's like a jewelry box. And we did the tiles on our fridge, but we very quickly abandoned them. My kids don't like the tiles. They much prefer to just write the spelling words. My 5-year-old does them a little bit because his writing is not as strong, but he really enjoys spelling. But he also will get tired of the tiles and just say, "Mom, can I just tell you how the word is spelled?" And he'll just tell me, and he can visualize it in his mind, and he doesn't have any problem with that. So we don't use the letter tiles really much at all. So I'm going to show you one of the letter lessons that's a little bit further along. So in this first book, you'll review some cards in your box, which I'll show you in just a minute. You'll segment these words. There'll be a new teaching, and it'll walk you through how to do that. It's scripted. Here's more new teaching. And then you'll have 10 words to spell for your child to spell. And you're supposed to spell them with the tiles and then spell them on paper. We do not use the tiles at all. So we just go straight to spelling them on paper. And then more words. Depending upon the lesson, there may be as many words as this. Sometimes there's fewer. Sometimes there just aren't any more words, depending on what the lesson is. And that's it for this beginning of this level. By the end of this level, they also have added a dictation section at the end with short phrases and then very, very short sentences. So that's level 1. Here is I don't have the official box. This is just some other box. We very quickly abandoned these cards as well, but I'll show you how they're supposed to be set up. So you have these little tabs. And so the cards under the first tab are the ones that you're supposed to be reviewing. Once your child's mastered them, they go behind this master tab and you review them less frequently. And then this last tab is the ones that your child hasn't learned yet. And I've got them for the key cards, which are like the rules, the phonogram cards, which are the different, I'll show you one, ways to spell things, the sound cards, which are dictation, so you say a sound and then your child has to write it, and then word cards for all the different words in the lesson. And we very quickly gave up doing this. My kids did not need this level of intense review. And I never ever used the word cards. Level 2, I don't remember if level 1 came with a student packet, but level 2 comes with a student packet, which we also did not use at all. But as a progress chart, jail, syllable rules, word bank, certificates. And if you buy these used and don't have them, All About Spelling will send them to you. But we did not use any of them at all. So in level 2, they introduce syllable types, and so then you start talking about what kinds of syllables are in words. But you can see here's the teaching, a little bit of reinforcement and dictating phrases, and then the lessons are set up the same way. You're still doing some segmenting if your child needs it. My kids did not need it anymore at this point. I'm not even sure they needed it in the first lesson, but it was good to check and make sure that they could do all of that segmenting. So by the end of this book, the sentences are a bit longer, but you're still dictating words and sentences. So what I do with my kids is I have them on day 1. The first level we went through really, really fast, so I didn't have necessarily an established rhythm for that level. But what I'm doing with my daughter now in level 4, and we've been doing this for a while, once she kind of got to a more stable place where she wasn't rushing through the spelling, kind of where she got to the point where she actually needed to learn the rules, is on day 1 I do the teaching. And so you can see in level 3, they add this word analysis. It talks about different syllable types, different ways to spell things, kind of bringing everything together. And then they also added these lessons where you sort. So what I would do for her, for a normal, let's just flip back one, for a normal lesson, is we do the word analysis and the new teaching on day 1. And then I don't do this part. I dictate these 10 words for her, and then I would dictate 2 sentences. And then on day 2, just to check that she retained it, I'll dictate 10 words from the more words, and then I'll dictate 2 more sentences. If there aren't enough words here to make 10 words, I'll dictate 3 sentences instead. Next year, she's going into 3rd grade. I'm going to bump her up to 3 dictated sentences every day, because I think she'll be able to handle a little bit more writing. Right now, she also does a separate writing program, and I just don't want to and handwriting, and she writes in science and history, and I don't really want to overload her. So in level 3, they introduced these chart sorting lessons, and my daughter loves these. Like, she was getting kind of bored with spelling, but then they started introducing these, and she thought they were so much fun. So this lesson is word sort for the different ways to spell the long A sound. And so you set up these columns on the paper, and you're searching for those sounds in the words you're saying and then the sentences you're doing. And so she usually keeps that paper with her for the next few days and continues to add to all of her columns until she fills them all up. So here's one of my daughter's word sorts for a long I, and then sentences on the back. And she goes back and adds new words as she finds them to the columns. So she really, really likes that. She loves those lessons where we sort things, and that just really makes a lot of sense to her brain. In this level 3, they also add homophones. And so you start keeping a log of all the different homophones you encounter. My daughter likes to try to come up with new words that are homophones. So by the end of this, you've done several charts, several homophones, and your sentences are a little bit longer. And they've also added this writing station where you're supposed to dictate the word, and then you break it apart into base word and suffix, and then you write original sentences. We don't do the writing station at all. My daughter does a separate writing program, and she didn't have any trouble with suffixes or any of that. She still will sometimes separate it just for fun in her regular sentences. And so I didn't feel like she needed the extra writing station practice. So in level 4, it's pretty much every level is set up the same way. But I'll just show you a lesson in this with you're supposed to review the cards, which we don't do. Teach, which we do all the teaching. And we just go over this from the book. I don't use the cards for it. We spell these words on paper. And then I dictate 2 sentences. Then the next day, we'll dictate 10 words from here and 2 sentences from here, and then we'll move on. We don't do the writing station or any of the other practice or review that they have in this program for you. So if you need it, it's there, and that's great. If you don't need it, you can skip it, which is what we do. In this is level 5. They start talking about alphabetizing. So this whole time you're supposed to have been alphabetizing with the letter tiles, which we don't use, but my kid knows how to alphabetize anyway. I think she actually already knows how to do this, even though we haven't gotten there yet. So they teach alphabetizing by the 2nd letter, the 3rd letter, etc., etc. And then in this level, they start to talk about specific spelling strategies. So they go over several spelling strategies and have your child start to use the spelling strategies to figure out which of the spellings they've learned makes sense for the words. They also do this Make It Plural book. In one of the previous levels, they do like a Jobs of Silent ebook. We didn't do that. We probably won't do this either. We'll do just whatever they have in this lesson. So sorting things just on a sheet of paper like we did the other word sorts. We probably won't make a book out of it. So by the end of this lesson, your sentences are getting fairly long. As you can see, level 6, pretty much set up the same as level 5. By the end of level 6, here's the length of your sentences that you're dictating. Still have the writing station. In level 7, they add roots. So they get through a bunch of the rest of the spellings that you need to get through, and then they do Latin roots. They do, I think, 3 steps on Latin roots. They have several steps on Greek roots, and then they have Spanish roots, Italian roots, French roots. So that's really helpful. That'll be really, I think my daughter will find that really interesting once we get there. So then this is the length of the sentences here at the end at level 7. So like I said, my daughter she did level 1, 2, and part of 3 in 1st grade. And then this year she's done the rest of 3 We're most of the way through 4, and we'll probably start level 5 this year in 2nd grade. And then in 3rd grade, we'll finish 5 and 6. We may start 7. So by the end of 4th grade, I'm expecting her to be done with all of this. And from there, we'll probably move to more like word analysis, structured word inquiry type stuff, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But we've really liked this program. I think it has a lot of really good reinforcement that my kid does not end up needing. So the color, this is the old black and white edition. They've come out now with a new color edition. I think they just have the first 2 or maybe the first 3 levels, and I was not tempted by it because this already has a bunch of stuff that we skip. I don't think we need any additional activities to add to it. We didn't use All About Reading, so a lot of people use All About Reading. It has lots of activities, and then they go to All About Spelling and it doesn't have any of those activities. So now they're trying to make a color edition of All About Spelling that has the similar activities, so it's a more seamless transition, but we didn't use All About Reading, and we don't need any more activities. They do have add-on workbooks you can buy. If you have the black and white edition, you can kind of make your own activities, and then the new color edition comes with, instead of just being the teacher's manual and then the cards, it has like a teacher manual and then like a student activity packet and then the letter tiles. And I actually don't even know if they have the cards in the new edition. I assume they would, because that's a kind of a big part of the system is reviewing the cards, although we skip it entirely. But I hope you found this helpful. We've really, really enjoyed this. I think it's been really good for my daughter. It's very systematic and surprisingly fun, actually. I don't think she thought she was going to enjoy spelling, but once we got to the charts, she was like, oh, this is really interesting, analyzing how all the different words are put together and all the different ways you can spell the same sound. So, as always, I will link everything in the description box below. Thank you for watching.